Okay, when we talked about classical conditioning, we talked about the 5 major processes when it comes to classical conditioning. Well, these processes are also at play when we're talking about operant conditioning. So this is acquisition, extinction, spontaneous recovery, generalization, and discrimination. Let's see how these processes work with operant conditioning. Okay, acquisition. An acquisition in operant conditioning, this is when the organism first makes that association between the behavior and the consequence. If you make that connection, if I do this, then this will happen, that's an important moment when it comes to acquisition. Timing, just like with classical conditioning, timing is important in operant conditioning. Which is going to be more powerful as far as consequence goes? An immediate reinforcement or a reinforcement that is delayed, that doesn't come right away? Well, the clear answer is immediate reinforcement is going to be more powerful than reinforcement that comes later on. And this is an important issue when it comes to how we run our lives. Because oftentimes the rewards that we really want and really value are quite a bit into the future. And the behaviors we need to do right now, we need to keep on doing those behaviors in order to get that reinforcement later on. Let's say the example is, we're talking about dieting, the behavior of dieting and exercise. What is the reinforcement for engaging in diet and exercise? The reinforcement is how when you look at yourself in the mirror and you see that you have a really good-looking body, well, this comes from, that's the reinforcement. And when you can look in the mirror and see you have a really good body, that strengthens the behavior of dieting and exercise. Problem is, and this is why dieting is so difficult, the problem is, if you decide to eat healthy today, instead of eating those delicious treats that are fattening, well, in the long run, you'll lose weight. But in the short run, you're not going to be very happy. And you're not going to notice any difference if you just hold off on your ice cream today. It's not going to make a difference to, you're not going to notice any difference in your figure just skipping one ice cream. You've got to do it on a consistent basis. It's going to take time. And therefore, the ice cream that's sitting there right in front of you, that's immediately reinforcing, well, that often takes precedence over the reinforcement that comes later. Even though looking good in the mirror and feeling healthy might be a more powerful reinforcer than just a bowl of ice cream, the fact that that reinforcer is so far away into the future makes it much weaker overall than the ice cream that's right in front of you right now. The same issue is important when it comes to punishment. Immediate punishment is going to be more effective than delayed punishment. You engage in the behavior, you immediately get punished for it. You're going to be much less likely to do that behavior again than a circumstance where you engage in the behavior and then an hour later you get punished. The delayed punishment is going to be much less effective. You're going to be less likely to make the connection between the behavior and the consequence that follows. You're going to keep on doing the behavior, and you're not. Who knows when the punishment is going to come? An example of this might be the bad behavior of speeding on the highway. Well, a lot of drivers speed on the highway, even though they know they could get a ticket for it. Nobody wants to get a ticket. Nobody wants to get pulled over by the police and get a ticket. But you know what? You drive that stretch and you speed every day, and you may do it 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, and no police officer gets you. You know where the speed traps are, so you slow down, everything like that. But even if you do get pulled over, you get a ticket, you don't necessarily have to pay right away. You might go to court. You might have to. You might not lose. You might not have to pay that ticket for 6 months or so. So bottom line is the punishment is not immediate when you engage in the behavior of speeding. Now, if you got a ticket every single time you sped, and you got it immediately, and you had to pay right away every single time you were speeding, well, you know what? You wouldn't be speeding anymore, because you'd get the punishment every single time you did it. But it doesn't work that way. So the delayed punishment is much less of an influence on you than immediate, right-away punishment. Extinction and spontaneous recovery, likewise in classical conditioning, also occur in operant conditioning. Basically, with operant conditioning, if the reinforcement stops, eventually the behavior will stop. Reinforcement is the behavior. If the behavior is no longer reinforced, you're not going to do it anymore. It is no longer causing you pleasure. Therefore, you're not going to do it anymore. So, let's go back to the poor student who studies hard every time they take an exam, but they still fail. Study hard, fail. Study hard, fail. Study hard, fail. Study hard, fail. At this point, they're not getting the reinforcement. After successive trials, eventually they're going to stop the behavior of studying, and thus the studying they intrinsically enjoy, they're going to stop studying because they're not getting reinforced for it. On the other hand, we can have spontaneous recovery. After a paused behavior that was previously, reinforced, will return again without relearning. So let's go back to that poor student. And this poor student, after failing, decides to take a leave of absence. After this leave of absence, maybe gets her head together, maybe gets some tutoring help, maybe starts learning new ways of studying. Now she comes back to school, and when a test is announced, she's going to go right back to the behavior of studying. Even though maybe it worked for her once, but then it got extinguished. But now she is ready, and she's working hard at it, and she is going to go back to it. So you can have a spontaneous recovery. An example of extinction also when it comes to, you think about a soda machine. Now, let's talk about this for a moment. This is an important concept. If your reinforcement has been continuous reinforcement, the extinction happens much quicker. Imagine a soda machine. You go to a soda machine, you put money in, you press the button, the soda comes out. Very good. You have your soda. Come back the next day, you do the same thing, however, no soda comes out. You're saying, what's going on here? You might even try it again. You might even put more money in and press the button again. Still no soda. Now your behavior is going to be extinguished, and you're not going to put any more money into that soda machine. You're done. That behavior has been extinguished. And it doesn't take long. I had a student once who said that she once tried 3 times to put money in before she finally gave up. Now that's just being gullible. So at this point, extinction occurs when the reinforcement stops. And when you're accustomed to getting continuous reinforcement, you're accustomed to getting the soda every single time you put money in. Well, you're going to be you're going to stop you're going to stop doing it pretty quickly. When the soda stops coming. Now let's go to spontaneous recovery. Let's say you take a week's vacation, you go back to school, you see the soda machine. You might go right ahead and try to do that, put money into that machine. Maybe you assume that the soda machine has been fixed now. So you can do it right away and you'll try it again. Hopefully you'll get a soda this time. Generalization and discrimination also occur with operant conditioning, like with classical conditioning. With generalization, you're going to respond similarly to similar stimuli. Let's say you love Coca-Cola. You only so-so like Pepsi. You like it, but you much prefer Coca-Cola. Well, Let's say you are thirsty, and at the particular place that you work, there is only one soda machine, and it is a Pepsi machine. And you're going to say, I prefer Coke, but I'll take Pepsi this time. So you put money in the machine, you get out your Pepsi. This is an example of generalization. You're going to respond similarly to the Pepsi machine as you do to the Coke machine. With discrimination, you can only respond to the stimulus that will lead to the reinforcement that you want, and you will not respond to the stimulus that does not reinforce you. Let's say you love Coca-Cola, but you hate Pepsi. Hate Pepsi. Well, in that case, when you see the Pepsi machine, you are not going to put any money in. You are not going to do the same behavior. You are clearly engaging in discrimination. You are responding to the Coke machine, but you are not going to respond to the Pepsi machine. The Coke is reinforcing. The Pepsi is not reinforcing. Therefore, a machine that spits out Pepsi is not the Pepsi is not reinforcing to you. It will therefore you will not engage in the behavior to get the Pepsi.